set of downs. He gets it to the 32. With a first down, they'll snap it from the 32. Looking to throw on first down. And this will be incomplete. A big hit there forces second down. Couldn't make the connection last time. Let's see if they throw it again. To the air on second down. Grabbed over the middle. It's Baxter.
So it's 3rd and long, and this quarterback right now has got to be expecting pressure. So you want to know where your hot routes are. You got to know where your best one-on-one matchup is. But understand this, we're still in the first half. If the defense gets you, tip of the cap, you can take a sack. Punting the football at this stage of the game is okay.
The hardest thing to do in football is to play on the road. So you want to get those fans as quiet as possible. That is a great opening possession for this defense, not giving up any big plays and forcing the 4th down.
That nifty return sets up the offense and negates some of the yardage on the punt. And the heart of this team clearly rests on the offensive line, a group of maulers, David, who take pride in what they do.
And I think if you're a coach, you take pride. Like, it starts up front. Like, you win and lose games with physicality, and they lean on all the big fellas up front, the hog mollies, the big uglies, the most unselfish players on the field.
It's old school, man. We're in an era of college football where it's up-tempo, spread, air raid. Games are still won and lost, though, in the trenches. And because this is one of the best offensive lines in all of college football, that is a huge advantage this offense takes into each and every game.
Looking to throw, it's Adams. Right on the money. He's going to come up about 5 yards short of the line to gain. And here comes the punt team. They'll have to boot it away for the first time tonight. And the punt team able to sling him to the ground. And the offense heads out onto the field to get the drive started. Off the play fake on first down to throw. Finds a man in the middle. Ripping off a really good chunk of yardage. They've got it out to the 41 with a first down. Looking to throw on first down. Good timing on the quick out. They make the stop, and he'll have enough yardage for a first down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. On the move. Picks up the first down. He stops him at the 31, but not before. He picks up 10 yards on the play. Wide receiver comes in motion. Quick pass on the fly motion. Can't get him to the ground. And he delivers the angry stiff arm, but is greeted by an angrier defense.
Brings up second down.
Looking for a crease. It's Baxter. And he's stuffed by that big defensive tackle up front. Ball spotted at the 27. They're facing a 3rd and long to try to keep their hopes of a touchdown alive. Throws to the wideout. Wide open downfield. Defense makes a stop, but the chains move, and it's 1st and goal from the 8. They'll try to get it in with the run. Into their happy place for a touchdown.
This is a guy that put a lot of pressure on himself coming into the season. He felt like he was ready to have a breakout year. He knew he had all the tools in the toolbox to be able to get it done, and he's shown it. That's his 10th rushing touchdown on the season.
Getting ready for the extra point after the first score of the game. And the extra point is good, and it's 7-0. They put together a 74-yard touchdown drive. Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. On the run from inside his own 5. Not a lot of space to be found. Good hustle by the coverage team, and they stop him at the 21. And now this offense will take the field again. Back to throw, it's Adams. Quickly out to the tight end. They stop him almost immediately. Short gain there, and still a little ground to cover to pick up the first. They'll ride the running back and leave it with him. Runs through the tackle. At the 45, shy of midfield. They'll mark it at the 49. It'll be a first down from the 49-yard line. What perfect execution on that big run. Everything perfectly blocked, and this guy doesn't need a lot of room.
I love how this offensive line communicates and works up front. You see guys winning their one-on-one battles. There's double teams happening. Guys are getting into the second level and creating big lanes for this running back.
He's got it on the right. Makes that one pay off, and they finally get him down at the 38. It'll be first down. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Off the play fake on first down, wants to throw. Gets it out fast. Got some of the work done on first. Now let's see what they have on second down. Off the play fake. Fires to the wideout. And they can't make the connection, and it could get worse. A penalty flag on the field, and it's in the holding zone. Let's get the call. Just an obvious holding call there, and one that just kills an offense's momentum. Second down, they'll go to the air. And it'll be incomplete. This defense is physical and pass deep. Decibels rising as the crowd gets behind this defense on third down. From the gun, wants to pass. He spins that thing down the middle. Fires into traffic, intercepted. Nice pickup on the return, but more important, they got the takeaway, and now they're in business.
And he makes a play in the back end. Nice job reading the pass, and that's his second of the season. This guy, unbelievable job seeing the quarterback, breaking on the quarterback, and going and getting that big play.
Okay, so here comes the offense returning to the field. Looking downfield on first down. Unloads to the wideout. And the physical play there forces the incompletion on first down. Plenty of work to do here on second and long. Misfired on the last play. They'll go back to the air. The defense wouldn't let him loose there, and it was a completion, but they lost yardage. Gets the back moving. On third and long, a check down would be the last resort. It's picked off, and that's number 10. And they'll get him down after a solid return.
Sometimes the quarterback puts that zip on it, and you can hear it. Sometimes he uses the lob wedge where it takes a little time to get there. That time, he used the lob wedge, and the defender came in and made the interception. Big play for this defense early.
This offense has it with really good field position. Looking to throw, it's Adams. Makes the grab on the left. The ball is down at the 14 after that grab. From the 14-yard line, it's first and 10. Receiver on the move, gets the touch pass. And the defense holds firm. No pickup at all on that play. Back to pass on second down. Can't hang on in the end zone, and that one is going to drive him crazy when he watches it. It'll be third down. From the gun, wants to pass. It's incomplete. He was shooting for the end zone right there. And on fourth down, they'll try to put 3 on the board. This whole play is going to see if this kicker can operate in a sea of noise. Smashes it between the uprights. That'll bring him to within 4.
Man, so many more times we're going to say, go for it, be aggressive. Nice to have a guy you can depend on, and you know you're putting 3 on the board. Nice kick, nice job.
And he'll bring it out of the end zone. Stopped at the 17, and he's probably second-guessing that return. Guys, this offense coming back out onto the field. of the shotgun. They go to the ground. He'll be stopped just short of the 20 at the 19. Give him 1. Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. Wants to go up top. Got out of trouble, got rid of it. Quick completion on the out route. Has plenty for the first down, and they stop him at the 28. Offense working from the pistol. Got it behind the line. It's Hampton. They make the stop, trying to pick up just a little bit at a time to get to that first down marker.
Now, you've seen the evolution of these slot receivers. They're just matchup nightmares. They're hard to get your hand on. A lot of times, they're off the football. You can't jam them. These guys are so productive, and offenses really feature their best players most time in those slot positions.
Finding a way to put that foot in the ground and get it up to the 37-yard line. Tries to surge ahead on the sneak. They knock him down, but he's got enough to get it across the line and pick up the first down. He'll pull it on the read. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage. Backed up now. Here's 2nd and long. Running back searching for a hole. He's brought down, but there's a flag on the field. Let's see which way that's going to go.
Offside, defense.
And you got to focus, right? The first thing you're looking at as a defensive lineman, the first thing you understand is the ball starts with a snap count. I have to line up, see the ball. When the ball moves, I move. I know it's simple, but you still see guys jumping off sides all the time.
They're ripping off chunks of yardage. They get it to the 33. See what they dial up on 1st and 10. Wants to throw on first down. Can't find the man, and he'll be knocked down at the 40.
And the defense gets a sack, and that's going to be the big determining factor in this football game. A week ago, he only got sacked 1 time. They've already got him on the ground. If they want to win this football game, they got to keep getting after the quarterback.
That last play, the kind of thing that can mess up a really good drive. It's 2nd and 17. Looking to fire. Quickly to the tight end. And the defense makes a big hit and knocks him down. So an example of a tight end doing a little unheralded work to set up a much better 3rd down situation.
And I like the QB here, Reese. I like the decision where I understand, let's get this football out, let's get some positive yards, and then get to 3rd down, and we can still have a better situation now because we got rid of the football and took the yards that were there.
3rd and long, and he'll try to throw for it. Fires to the middle. It's caught downfield. They'll finally put the brakes on him at the 3. A big throw, catch and run on that one. And they just want to give this guy a chance to make a play on 3rd down, and more times than not, he is going to deliver.
He's so good, so efficient, such a good route runner, got the speed, got the complete game, so you definitely want to highlight him, and especially on those downs that matter the most. If something's not open quick underneath, find him, he'll make those contested catches.
They'll send the tight end in motion. They'll run play action. And the quarterback is knocked down back at the 13.
We just need better execution on offense right now. Not able to get it done on first down, and now they give up the sack. If you're the head coach right now, you might want to think about a timeout, make sure your guys have their minds right.
It's 3rd and goal and 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. It falls incomplete. He was trying to find his man for 6. They'll play it safe and send out the field goal unit. It's good. He hit that one right down the middle. They're up by a touchdown here in the 1st.
And that's not the way they wanted to end the drive, but nice job being ready and your field goal kicker coming through and putting 3 points on the board.
He'll start the return inside his 5. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. So they start this drive from inside their own 20 at the 19-yard line. Finding open areas.
You love to see this on offense. Early in drives, getting that kind of yardage keeps you ahead of the chains.
Trying play action. Got a man, it's Baxter. And they pick up just a few on that completion. Here they come, trying to convert a 3rd and short from the 28. Picks up the first down, still moving. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Reading the option, it's Adams. And after the tackle, we are headed to the end of the first quarter. To the air, it's Adams. They're working that left side. There to make the tackle, and that's how we'll wrap up this first period. Both teams wanted to establish the run, and they have done exactly that in the first quarter. They are lined up and ready to go and get things started here in the second. So they go back to work after the break, and it is 3rd down. From the gun, wants to pass. He lobs one high down the left side. And that one's incomplete. They weren't just trying to move the chains. They were trying to move the scoreboard. Instead, it's 4th down. Hunt is on its way. And he'll work his way on the return out to the 35-yard line before he stopped. Let's see what this offense has dialed up this time. They'll try the run. He breaks a tackle. He has an extensive juke library, and he exhausted it and still didn't pick up much. 2nd down, he'll throw it. Throws to the wideout. Soft spot in the middle. Brought down at the 47-yard line after the 15-yard pickup. They try to pop a run on the draw. And a good, solid pickup before the defense cuts him down. Got 6 on 1st down. Now a lot of options on 2nd and 4. They're trying to slow that rush down with the draw. That is a big win for this defense as they were right there as soon as he got the ball. On 3rd down, he'll try to pick it up through the air. And that'll be incomplete. They certainly weren't afraid to take a shot there, and now it's 4th down. Sometimes in life, there's only one thing to do. Punt. And they should punt. Out comes the offense as they get set to take over. Some fresh air. And it looks as if he'll pick up maybe a couple. Well, will they dial up on 2nd and a long way to go? Motion from the wide receiver. From the gun, running back on the move. They just blew through that offensive line. It's a 4-yard loss. Here comes this home crowd as the defense tries to get off the field on 3rd down. Hard running there. That's not quite going to be enough as they stop him 4 yards short of the marker. They bring the punter onto the field now. They're able to put a stop to that return right at the 30-yard line. Bunch formation for these receivers. Wants to go up top on 1st down. Grabbed in the middle. It's Hampton. Makes the grab, but not quite enough for the 1st down, but a good gain on that play. A little bit more to go after that last completion. They'll try to pick it up on 2nd down. Got it in the middle. It's Hampton. Gets it to the 46-yard line. 1st down for this offense. Use the play fake. Now to throw. Pulls it in. It's Galloway.
One of the things you love about this running back is not only can he run between the tackles, but he's also a weapon in this offense catching the football.
Going to swing it on second down. Makes the catch. It's Knox. Couldn't ask for much more there. A first down, and they're down to the 42. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Wants to keep it in the air. And that incomplete pass caused by the big hit on first down. Second down coming. They're dealing with a second and long. They'll send the back in motion. And back to the air on second down. The sure hands. It's Hampton. It'll be third and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Fires to the wideout. Connection to the right. What a play there, and he rips off a big one all the way to the 16-yard line. This offense is like running a perfection drill in practice against air. Chunk play after chunk play, and here they come again. He's dragged down at the 12 as they try to cash in on this red zone opportunity. Wants to fire on second down. And the Heat will get home, and the quarterback goes down at the 17.
Yeah, and how about this defense, man? That's the third sack of the day. They've been putting pressure, getting him on the ground. Not something they've been good at throughout this season. This defense playing better because they're getting more pressure on the quarterback.
Now a lot of work to do to move the chains, keep this drive alive after that earlier sack. On third and long, he's going to have to throw for it. Right through his hands. He had a touchdown and just didn't look the ball in. It'll be fourth down. And for the second time tonight, they'll trot out the field goal kicker. Dead center perfect. And that will extend their lead even further. So the kickoff team is out there ready to boot it away after putting up a field goal. Let's see what the defense can do. On the move from inside his 5. Nice job executing all of the assignments as they put a stop to that return at the 22. And the offense back on the field ready to dial up ball plays. They'll run the RPO and fire to the right. Offense gets set for second down. Wide receiver going in motion. Dropping back, it's Adams. Makes the catch. He'll be forced out of bounds. They'll mark him down at the 44-yard line, and this offense has it going. Quick release by the QB. Make the stop at the 40, but he's got 15 yards on that one and a first down. Red pass, it's complete. Breaks into the open. He's all the way down to the 27-yard line, and they are threatening. Finally, this offense starting to show a little juice. They've got a first and 10. They'll give it to the back. And this one will be stopped for no gain. Got stuffed on first down. It's second and 10. Back to pass. And he was hit just as he was releasing the pass, and it falls to the ground incomplete. Better find the earplugs. Here comes the noise, backing this defense on third down. From the gun, wants to pass. Makes the grab. No more room to run as this defense rises up on third down, and now it's fourth down from the 22. He'll try to throw and pick up the first down. Snatched it right out of the air and waltzed his way into the end zone for the touchdown.
forget about those tight ends, right? They come up and they block most of the time, and a lot of time near the line of scrimmage, and then occasionally offenses do a great job, get creative, find a way to get a good matchup for the tight end, and he does the rest and gets in for 6.
Now they'll line up for what they hope is automatic. And with the extra point, every little bit counts as they get closer. And for a quick update, let's go to Kevin Connors in the studio.
Hey guys, just wanted to give you a quick update on a game happening in the SEC. Texas A&M is trailing right now, but it's only a couple of points. That quarterback just needs to show the poise of a young Johnny Manziel, and they are right back in this. They're trailing by just 4 to Ole Miss. Week in and week out in the SEC, it's a battle of attrition, and if anything big changes, you'll hear about it here.
Oh, and how about that? I know Kevin and those guys will be keeping an eye on it for us. And they'll pick up the first down and mark it at the 47. So they move the sticks on the run. Let's see what they do with this one. Touch pass on the jet sweep. And maybe he'll get back to the line of scrimmage, but no more than that. They got nothing on the last play. It's 2nd and 10. Wants to go up top. The little soft flip pass falls incomplete. Now facing a 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Got it in the middle, it's Hampton. They've got it inside the 40 at the 39 as they pick up the first down. It'll be a draw. Not much running room there thanks to this senior defender. Got 3 on first down at 2nd and 7. Looking to fire. Caught in the backfield, it's Baxter. The defense wouldn't let him loose, and even though it's a completion, they lost yardage. 7th play of the drive coming up, but a long way to go on 3rd down. From the gun, wants to pass. Lofts one high and deep. And trying to put points on the board on 3rd down. Now they're staring at 4th down. So they're going to send out the field goal unit to try a long one. And that is no good. It's still a 3-point game after the miss.
And sometimes I just feel like 4th down, man, just go for it every time. Like the field goal miss-make rate. And listen, kickers have improved the last couple of years, but you left some points off the scoreboard there.
The hand to the running back. And just wedges it ahead a bit before he's brought down. Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. Looking downfield, it's Adams. Fired that thing out in a heartbeat, but it's incomplete. They'll come to the line at the 42, facing a 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Going downfield for the big play. Oh, he had it. The deep ball was there, and it just trickled through his fingers. The punt team makes its way onto the field. He's getting a lot of work. 4th time he's punted tonight. Fair catch called for and made around the 20-yard line. Let's see if they can get something going here late in the half. To the air on first down. Catch in the middle, it's Hampton. They get it out to the 36 and on the move after a pickup of 15. That's a way to give yourself some breathing room. Now the 2nd play of the drive from the 36. Looking to throw on first down. And it's incomplete. If you're going to take a hit like that, you might as well hang on to the ball. Plenty of distance between them and the sticks here on 2nd down. Back to pass. And that pass will be jarred loose on 2nd down. That brings up 3rd down. Trying to pick up a first down. Wants to throw it. Here's a heat. The short hands. It's Knox. And he's brought down after a nice gain. Now they'll try to cash in this drive. 1st and 10 from the 50. Looking to throw on first down. With the catch, it's Hampton. And this defense was flailing as he weaved his way and got down to the 26.
Guys, you never want to sound the upset alert bell too early, but it might be time to at least know where the button is for it.
Know where the button is, and listen, there's no need to panic yet, but if you're the unranked team, just like this, when you're playing a better team, you want to come in and you want to hang around, Jesse, and they're doing just that, staying in this game and have a lead.
Yeah, the unranked team, they've been playing with more intensity in this one. And I think if you're a leader right now on the ranked squad, you've got to be talking to your guys and waking everybody up. This coaching staff is going to have to make some halftime adjustments, but they're going to have to give an earful to their guys to come out here in the second half and start making some plays.
Brought down after a good pickup, and they're in the red zone at the 20. Back to throw, time running short in the half. Works the middle. Now the connection takes it to the 11. The offense uses a timeout to stop the clock, and they'll get a quick breather. Looking downfield on first down. Catch in the middle. It's Hampton. They'll get it down to the 8-yard line on that throw and catch, and the defense is backed up against the wall. Operating in the red zone here on second down. Lets it fly to the end zone, and it's picked off.
Man, another mistake by this. Listen, he is an elite quarterback. He's really, really good. He's pressing too much. Jesse, the #1 job of a quarterback, you better protect the football. I don't care how good you are, you better protect it.
Yeah, you just got to take what the defense is giving you. And I agree, David. It looks like right now he's trying to force the big play instead of just checking it down or throwing away. He's got to do a better job working through his progressions right now. He's got tons of talent, but he's making bad decisions.
So let's see how they play it in this final 30 seconds of the first half. Rides the back on the option, the give. Looks as if he'll work his way forward and get it up to about the 11-yard line. Handoff to the fullback. Got enough for the first. On the move at the 30. A little excitement there to wrap up the first half, and that'll pad the stats as we go to the break. We played 2 quarters here. Time to go to Kevin Connors in our halftime update.
Guys, who's had a better seat there in Seattle for an interesting first half than you? And how can we begin our analysis of that first half without singing the praises of one of the elite backs in football? Racking up huge numbers on the ground, even throwing the occasional block. This kid is the total package. And if this defense doesn't adjust his strategy, he could be headed towards a career day. With that said, let's send it back to our guys inside Husky Stadium.
Just about set to get this second half underway. And he'll just take a knee, and this drive will start at the 25. Pulls it, fired complete. Oh, he's got some space. All the way out to the 43-yard line before he's pushed out of bounds, and this offense is on the move. Quick completion to the right. Gets away from one, finds room. They finally get him on the ground, but he's got an explosive play for the first down.
Well, late in the year, this guy is square in the middle of the Heisman Trophy discussion because of his performance. He throws a nice completion there for a first down, but it's been week in, week out. Big moments. He's led this team to a ton of wins. He is their best player.
They're down to the 35 on 1st and 10. The run to the right. Big time play by the defense. He'll lose 4. They'll try to overcome that last play on 2nd and 15. Back to throw. It's Adams. It's caught and tackled there by the defense. Ball's at the 27. It's 3rd and short. Can they avoid making that 4th down decision? They'll try to pick up the first through the air. Takes the easy completion. He's got enough for the first down. They'll spot him at the 24-yard line. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Using the quick game. And he was fortunate not to lose yardage on that play, able to wedge it back to the line of scrimmage.
That quarterback putting his face in the fan, I love it. Coming up quickly, making a tackle in space.
Working well behind the sticks on second down. They'll leave it with him. And there was nowhere to go, just stopped in his tracks in the backfield. Decibels rising as the crowd gets behind this defense on third down. Looking to throw, and he needs a chunk play. And this is going to be incomplete on third down. And here comes the field goal unit for the second time tonight. This crowd trying to do its part to get inside the kicker's head. The official says no good. And after the miss, they're still down by a field goal. He couldn't connect on that 44-yard field goal attempt, so now the offense will take over at its own 27. Wants to throw on first down. Working that left side now. Gets it out to about the 35-yard line. That's where they'll mark him out of bounds, and this offense trying to put something together. No more time to throw. Quarterback is sacked at the 35.
I think going into halftime trailing, this defense knew that they were going to have to start making plays here in the second half. And early in the third quarter here on this drive, they get a sack. That is really good news for this defense.
These are the types of plays where offenses impose their will. Third and short from the 45. They'll try to get it through the air. Got his man. They'll get the first down. It's spotted on the 49. Here's this offense with a fresh set of downs. Pressure is effective from the defense. They knock him down just behind the midfield stripe at the 48.
This defensive end is an animal. He already has 2 sacks, and we're only in the third quarter. I'd move him around a little bit more defensively so that the offense has no idea where he's lining up. Because right now, man, he is feasting.
They gave up the sack on first down. Now it's 2nd and 11. Wants to go up top. Oh, they're after him. And he feels the heat coming, and it burns him up. Another sack.
You can just see the excitement this defense has every play. They're almost wishing this quarterback drops back to throw because they know they're going to get home to him. That's the 6th time they've registered a sack.
Now a lot of work to do to move the chains, keep this drive alive after that earlier sack. On 3rd and long, he's going to have to turn one loose downfield. And that deep shot's going to wind up incomplete, but we do have a flag on the field. Let's see what the official says.
Hold on.
This defense happy with how that last play turned out, so they'll decline the penalty. So they couldn't get it done on 3rd down. Now they'll line up in punt formation. You'd think they would have had a good chance to down that one deep, but the bounce carries it into the end zone for the touchback. They're going to run it to the right. Got the first down and more. And the defense finally makes the stop after the sweet run and good gain. Looking for a man. It's Adams. Complete in the middle. A huge play, and they get it all the way to the 45-yard line. They've come out with answers on this possession, and now another first down. They'll move the wide receiver. Trying to get the edge on the jet sweep. Powers through the defender.
And that's the hard thing about defending this play. You got so much speed coming across the formation. They can get to the edges quickly, and you limit the damage. It's not a huge play, but they pick up a little chunk and a little chunk, and you put those together, they can get you first downs.
Here comes this home crowd as the defense tries to get off the field on 3rd down. Finds his big tight end. Offenses gain momentum with third down conversions like that. They've got it at the 25. They'll try the right side. They'll knock him down for a loss of a couple. Got some work to do after that last play. 2nd and 13. Looking to fire. Gets it out quickly. He's brought down quickly. Minimal gain there. Still a bit short of the first down. You have to wonder, after missing a field goal on the last drive, how are they going to play this third down? He's got his man. He's brought down. Good pickup on the play, but not quite to the 15-yard line. That's where he had to get for the first down. On 4th down, looking to pass. And they get to him and sack the quarterback, and they'll stop the drive on downs.
He had nowhere to go with the football. 4th down, you know he wants to make a play. I'd like for him to throw it up, to be honest. Try to give somebody an opportunity to make a play. Who cares if I throw a pick? It's 4th down anyways, but couldn't find anybody to get the ball off. Defense surrounds him, gets him to the ground with the sack.
They'll run the RPO and throw it right. Just what they were looking for to get this drive rolling. They're out to the 35. Let's see if they can put the defense on its heels in 1st and 10. Oh, he makes the catch. And the defense had that one well covered. Just a short gain there. So now it's 2nd and long. They go to the ground. And the defense holds firm. No pickup at all on that play. They've got to come up with a big play on this 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Bringing the heat. That pass not close as he got drilled trying to deliver it, and it'll bring up 4th down. And after that, best thing you can do, punt it away. Here comes the special teams. Now on the return. And the coverage team able to wrestle him down. And now the offense will come onto the field again. Motion from the wideout. Out of the chute. Quick toss to the right. Didn't pick up a lot there. Moved it forward just a few. Behind the chains now on 2nd and long. Dropping back, it's Adams. Knew where he wanted to go with it, but couldn't find his target. It's incomplete. Wow, this offense is doing nothing. They've already punted 4 times and staring at the possibility of a 5th. He's got an open man. Oh, he found a space on the right. Touchdown! When that receiver got free, it was all over.
And it's so nice to have a receiver like this as a quarterback because you pad my stats. I like those long touchdown passes where I just threw it really short and he did the rest of the work.
He'll try to tack on one more. And the extra point is good, and it's a 4-point lead. We check in with Kevin Connors. What's going on, Kevin?
Man, it just means more in the SEC, and take a look at how things are playing out here. Texas A&M is down, but they are not out of it. Not there at Kyle Field, one of the more special places to watch a game in all of college football. They're trailing by just 4 to Ole Miss. We'll keep an eye on things until the final horn in a game that could shake things up a bit in the SEC.
Thanks for the update on that one, Kevin. Let us know when it goes final. 2nd down, they'll go to the air. Just a short pass to the tight end. He moves the chains, and they'll mark the ball at the 33. With the first down, they'll put it in play from the 33. Motion from the back. Wants to go up top on 1st down. The throw to the outside is complete. He'll be stopped and forced out of down. Grabbed behind the line. It's Baxter. How about this sophomore stopping him short of the first down line? Try to make up for some of that lost ground on second down. Back to pass. Those two not on the same page. It's incomplete. They've got the ball at midfield, but they're facing a 3rd and long. From the gun, wants to pass. Caught over the middle. It's Hampton. They'll make the stop about a yard short of the first down. So the offense is going to go for it on 4th down. Tries to get it on the ground. Dragged down, but they'll move the sticks for a first down. Offense walks through the line for play number 7 of the drive. Takes a handoff. It's Baxter. And they'll bring him down after a short pickup. Didn't get much on first down. It's 2nd and 9. Wants to go up top. Unloads to the wideout. And he really needed to hold on to that one, but it was not loose, and 3rd down is coming. And now let's see if the offense can bail itself out after the 2nd down misfire. All kinds of room to throw that one in there. Just across the 20 with a first down at the 19. They're going to run it. An explosive play in the running game as he's got the first down. Defense is backed up. Shadow of the goalpost trying to defend their own end zone. Wide receiver comes in motion. With jet sweep pass. Looking for the end zone. And it's a touchdown. Put 6 on the board. That was an absolute sledgehammer of a drive. Just taking the air out of the ball.
And it's hard when you run that many plays not to make a mistake and throw an interception or get penalties and put you in a bad spot. But the offense just strung play after play after play together and got in the end zone.
And the extra point puts them up by a field goal. They put it in the end zone with a 12-play scoring drive. And they close the deal with the 7-yarder for the score. And it'll be a touchback. The ball will come out to the 25-yard line. They'll put this one in play. First snap of the drive from the 25. Out of the gun, the running back has it. And he never had a chance. Just stopped cold as soon as he got it. After getting knocked back to open this drive, it's 2nd and 12. Back to throw, it's Adams. Snagged out of the air. That's the kind of play that can really get you going as they get it out to the 36. First down and 10. Motion from the wide receiver. Pulls and throws off the RPO. And a good job in coverage there as they stop it after just a few. As they get set to snap it, just about to reach the end of the quarter. He'll do it himself. Runs through a tackle. And he's got enough for a first down. Now to see if they have enough time to snap it again here in the 3rd. And you want to talk about his favorite receiver, it might be everybody based on the number of guys getting touches and a chance to show off their hands in the passing game. Not only is the scoreboard on their side, but so too is time as we open the 4th. They'll go back to work with a first down in the final period. Wide receiver going in motion. Looking to throw on first down. Caught. And a good job of coverage by that defense. Just a short pickup. 2nd down coming up. From the gun. Leaves it on the inside with the back. Open space at the 25. And into the end zone for a touchdown.
And this is a running back, guys, that gets better as the game goes on. Here we are late in this one, and he's still breaking off big runs. Impressive, making people miss, showing you the speed. And that touchdown gives his team the lead.
They'll try to add another to their lead. And the extra point splits the uprights.
So that scoring drive took only 6 plays. Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. And he takes this from inside the 5. He was hoping for something a little more dynamic, but they get him on the ground at the 20. Now this offense is back on the field. Off the play fake on first down, the throw. And this will be incomplete. A big hit there forces second down. Couldn't make the connection last time. Let's see if they throw it again. They'll move the wide receiver. The give to the back. He is going nowhere. Stop at the line of scrimmage. Now on 3rd and 10, if they can move the chains here, maybe they can get this drive started. Pocket breaking down. Receiver wasn't ready for the throw, incomplete. And here comes the punt team. This will be the 5th kick of the night. He'll get away another punt. He's been really active today, and no doubt he's going to earn his varsity letter. Now the play fake. Throws to the wideout. And the physical play there forces the incompletion on first down. Plenty of work to do here on 2nd and long. To the air, it's Adams. Rush coming in high, and they got him at the 29.
This defense has the ability to get pressure on the QB from the edge. And that don't necessarily mean from defensive ends, but from the outside linebackers. These guys get in their sprinter stances, and they come off the ball. That outside linebacker showed you his speed right there.
Now a lot of work to do to move the chains, keep this drive alive after that earlier sack. On 3rd and long, hoping to throw beyond the sticks. And the incomplete pass will bring up 4th down. They bring the punter onto the field now. 3 and out, and not much choice but to get rid of the ball. Yet another punt on the way. Got to make sure that hamstring stays loose. He's been busy. He was hoping for a little more running room, but they're able to get him down at the 45. All right, guys, so here's the offense back on the field again. Looking to throw on first down. Looking to the big tight end. Makes the grab. And he was on his way, and they get him down at the 30. Line gets set, first down. Looking downfield on first down. Got a man, it's Galloway. And he'll step out of bounds after a very productive play. And here comes the offense on 2nd down. Looking to fire. Caught in the backfield. It's Galloway. Here they come up to the 23-yard line, not thinking field goal, wanting to convert this 3rd and short. They just keep firing. Forced out of the pocket. He got past the sticks and slides to a stop, but there is a flag on the play. They'll back him up with a holding penalty this time. They've spent most of the day backing them up with sacks anyway. On 3rd down, he drops to throw. Going deep. And this is dropped. Incomplete pass. He had a huge gain in his fingers, and he couldn't hold on. So here we are on 4th down, and this field goal kicker is going to face all the pressure in the world. Kick is good. The offense has 3 points to show for the drive. That brings them to within 1.
And this offense obviously wanted to take the lead, but they chip into the lead a little bit. Now they're going to need their defense. Just give me another opportunity. They only need a field goal in the 4th quarter. Nice job cutting into that lead.
Didn't find any crease in that kickoff coverage, and he'll be stopped at the 17. They'll go back to work on offense. Reading the option, it's Adams. They make the stop, but there is a flag on the field. We'll see what that's all about. We'll repeat the previous down, but this time the offense has 10 more yards it has to cover. One running back in the backfield, and he has it. Turning it on. And he won't quite get there, but boy, after that pickup, just a few inches to go for the first. An array of possibilities here. They'll go right back to it. And this one will be stopped for no gain. Better find the earplugs. Here comes the noise, backing this defense on third down. And I don't think he got there. No, they stopped him short. He does not pick up the first down. They booted away on fourth down. He will signal for the fair catch and take it just inside the 35. So, guys, we'll see this offense again. Here's the handoff. That is a big win for this defense as they were right there as soon as he got the ball. Sends it back in motion. They'll go to work in the air on second down. Oh, he drops it. That is a catch he makes 99 times out of 100, but it'll be third down. Looking downfield, and he needs a bunch. And the defense, they've got him at the 27.
I think this quarterback now at this point is looking over to the sideline saying, hey, can we just not throw it anymore? I mean, my guys, they can't block for me. I've got no chance back here. We need to just run the ball from this point out.
The punt team makes its way onto the field. 3 and out, they got stuck in reverse. They hope the punt can bail them out. He's got it. He gets a block. And the punt team able to smack him to the ground. Guys, this offense will go back on the attack. To throw, it's Adams. Right down the middle. And that pass incomplete. The defense got a hand on it. Backed up now, here's second and long. Back to pass. Fires to the tight end. They've got it to the 49-yard line, and they'll move the chains. First and 10. Lost a throw on first down. It's incomplete, and trust me, you will not see that very often from this guy. It's second down. Couldn't make the connection last time. Let's see if they throw it again. The screen, and watch out. They stop him almost immediately. Short gain there, and still a little ground covered. Pick up the first. Snap from the gun on third down. Finds the tight end. Doesn't quite make it to the first down marker. He's a yard short. He completes the pass, but short of the sticks. Results the same. Here comes the punt team. Hunt will bounce out of bounds, and they're going to spot it at the 25. And the offense out on the field to go back to work. They'll run it out of the shotgun. Works ahead for a couple. They'll stop him at the 27. Picked up 2 yards on that last one. They need 8 on second down. Off play action. He's looking deep. Pulls it in down the middle. Finally corralled, but not before. He picks up the first down.
Well, how about the offense setting that play up? We've seen earlier in the game a couple shorter throws, just trying to suck those safeties closer to the line of scrimmage, anticipating that they would get an opportunity to take a shot. They called the perfect play at the perfect time right there.
And an absolutely fearless tackle, giving up size, still got him on the turf. To the air on second down. And he throws another interception, his third one of the night. He goes down after the short return, but what a play to get the football back. And the offense takes over to dip into its bag of ball plays. Wants to throw. It's Adams.
quick strike complete. And the defense settled in to stop that one for a short gain. What will they dial up on second and a long way to go? Off the RPO, complete. All down, but he has enough to move the chains. Now on first down from the 43-yard line. On the ground, trying to pull the plug on this clock. Makes it past the marker. Stopped at the 46-yard line, but give him 10 yards and the first down. Wants to go up top on first down. Just flying through the air like a superhero to make the grab. From the 33, it's first and 10. They'll run it from the gun. Just ran over it. And a nice run there before the defense finally makes the stop. Got 8 on first down, now looking at a second and 2. To the ground with the back. And there was nowhere to go, just stopped in his tracks in the backfield. Timeout is called, and it's the defense wanting to make sure that everyone's on the same page for this big down. In the gun and looking to throw on third down. Got his man down the middle. Timeout called there by the defense, desperate to get the ball back and save as much time as possible. From the 17-yard line, threatening to score on first and 10. From the shotgun, the inside give. Tough, determined run, gets it down to the 12. Quick timeout called by the defense, stopping the clock to save as much time as possible for their offense. They'll toss it to the left. Plows through the defense. Sprints into the end zone for a touchdown.
That's why, as a defense, you have to game tackle this guy. You've got to bring multiple bodies to the party because he's just way too strong of a runner. It's too hard to tackle this guy one-on-one.
And how about the running back, man? That's a grown man. Like, you could tell, once he gets his feet moving, he is hard to bring down, breaking tackles, making plays. This is a guy that doesn't need a great offensive line because he continues to make plays even when they're not there to be made.
And he splits the uprights and pushes the lead to 8 here in the fourth. Kickoff unit on the field, and this defense will be called on to protect this lead. He'll bring it back from inside his spot. Really disciplined job by the coverage unit to get down there and make the stop at the 19. So this defense has to protect the lead, but they can also end the deal by putting the... And the quarterback is knocked down back at the 13.
This is just so demoralizing. You want to talk about taking a game over. That's what this defense is doing right now. They are just winning in the trenches. They're easily the more athletic and more physical unit up front, dominating this O-line.
And they're going to be in a world of hurt if they don't get this thing going forward here on second down from the 13. We've reached the 2-minute timeout, and time is of the essence for this offense to get things done. This defense has kept them backed up. Now one more stop, and they can get off the field on third and long. Using his feet to buy time. He'll be dragged down right at the 19-yard line. It'll bring up fourth down. Down a possession here in the fourth, and they'll need to convert on this fourth down. It's dropped, and oh, what a tough way to end this drive. The decision to go for it does not pan out. And the quarterback takes a knee. It came down to the final quarter. Clutch plays, guys delivered, and they get the close win.
Yeah, Reese, big-time players make big plays in big games, and that's what happened in this circumstance. As a coaching staff, David, you love this. You know that you have confidence in your guys to go out and be able to execute when it matters the most.
Correct, and you don't know until the games, right? You don't know when those moments present themselves. How are they going to handle it? Great job handling a close game, executing down the stretch like they needed to.
That's going to do it from here. For David Pollack and Jesse Palmer, I'm Reese Davis, and you've been watching another presentation of EA Sports College Football.